So we are back with a Mara in the Mix episode. This is actually season 2, and we have a very special guest all the way from the UK. Introduce yourself to our viewers.
Hi everyone, I'm Emily Callacher. I'm a bluesy folk artist slash whatever you want from Liverpool.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Emily. This is actually my first time interviewing someone from Liverpool. So kind of give us a little background on what the music scene is like and your niche in it. Like, how is it for you in the industry?
So the music theme, I should know, if you know, do you know the Beatles? Have you ever heard of the Beatles?
Yeah.
They're from Liverpool. So there's a lot of, you just hear them from when you're born, basically everywhere in Liverpool. But then you have a lot of little pockets of like live bands and live music, which is starting to come out a bit more again, which is exciting. And I love getting involved in that kind of thing and playing.
Oh, yeah. So with the modern day Liverpool music scene, do you think that the Beatles still have, well, I'm sure they have a major influence because they have a major influence on everyone, including people from here, but do you see like the direct influence still, or has it kind of deviated to a different sound?
I think there's still a lot of live music more in Liverpool than there is in the likes of London at the minute, because they're on like their grime rap scene at the minute, where like Liverpool is still based on like bands and live music kind of thing and that kind of heart, I suppose.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm glad that you introduced yourself as like a folk-ish type of artist, because I got that feel to in correlation to the States. I feel like it definitely is more folk, but the instruments, it kind of reminds me of, I think bluegrass would be like a good category to put that in. So do you have any direct influences on your personal artist career?
Yeah, I have quite a few, I suppose. At the minute, I'm trying to like look at female artists more as like an empowerment thing. Also, it sounds a bit strange, but like for my vocal range and stuff like that, I've always felt a bit hard to find covers. But so I started looking for female artists, and I found First Aid Kit, which are like a lovely acoustic duo, and they're amazing. Another band called She Drew the Gun, and they are amazing as well. They're all female bands. And then obviously famous people that I'd say that I'm influenced by are like Bob Dylan and stuff like that.
Love Bob Dylan. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's amazing.
So I know you've been in music for a couple years now. You started around 14, right?
Yeah.
So what has your musical journey been like?
It's been a crazy one, I suppose. So I started off in an all-female rock band as a lead guitarist, and then at that time I wrote a lot of songs, and then we ended up breaking up, and I still wanted to carry on as like a solo act, but then I wanted to sort of bring my voice out because I'd never done that before. So I started working on my own technique and building it from there, and here I am. So
great. Yeah. So how long have you been a solo artist?
A solo artist, I'd say for about 3 years, maybe 2, around that. Yeah.
Okay. So do you think you see more success as a solo artist opposed to being in a band? Because I know you've done like a lot of great things, from winning like songwriting contests and having high profile performances and even being signed.
Definitely a lot more progress. I think what it was is because I was younger as well. A lot of people don't really take you as serious and things like that, where when you sort of decide, oh no, I'm taking it serious now, I suppose.
Awesome. So how do you think you impact the Liverpool music scene? If you feel like you've reached that point yet, what do you think is your direct contribution?
I'd say I'm still only at the start of my career, but it is definitely growing, and I'm excited to empower the other people around me. For example, I'd say with the acoustic scene, there was a bit of like a drought at the time where there's a lot of like bedroom artists that weren't really playing in pubs and stuff and that, and now they're starting to play in pubs and gigs and stuff more. And I've got a headline gig where I've got like, I think it's like 14 other acoustic acts playing, and it's like I'm really excited for that because there hasn't been something that just solely acoustic based for a while, I suppose. Yeah,
that's very major. Even headlining a show, like, would this be your first headlining opportunity?
Definitely, yeah. I've never done it before and I'm very nervous, but I'm very excited.
Well, I mean, I have to tell you, like, that's really freaking amazing because, again, like, that's a headliner. Some people don't even get to the headlining stage until maybe like 5 years plus into their career. But not only that, for it to be something you love, being acoustic and you being a big part of that coming back, that's incredible. Like, that's
yeah, it feels amazing.
Great. So I know did you release the EP back in March of this year?
I released Fragments this year in March. Yeah, that was a single. And then I released another single in December, just of the last year. And in 3 months' time, I'm hoping to release another single. So yeah.
Okay. So I have heard Fragments. That's actually how we encountered one another, is from that song. And I have to tell you, typically folk, I have been to like folk concerts and everything, but I feel like your voice is what would gravitate me to folk, even though it wouldn't be my first, like, folk music is typically not my first preference. You would make me reconsider. So
thank you.
I really love this song, and I just kind of want to get a better feel of where you were when creating Fragments, where you were mentally or even in your career.
So when I was creating Fragments, I was in quite a dark point in my life. I sort of just lost my sister. She passed away, and it was kind of like everything in my life at the moment had gone like silent. It sounds a bit strange, but you get them points in your life where you start grieving and you feel everything that you've been ignoring for a long time. And at that point is when I picked up my guitar and I sort of just started writing because it's the only thing I knew how to do. And when I was doing that, the emotions came out, and that's how Fragments sort of was formed, through just my emotion. And yeah.
I mean, those type of songs tend to make, the best, it makes hits. So I am sorry for your loss, but I'm sure it impacted you way beyond.
Yeah. My sister was a very, very strong-willed person. In fact, she was the strongest person that I'd ever met in my life. So it kind of empowered me, I suppose, to just carry on just in her memory or in everything, because, yeah.
Now, is Fragments, is that your first song since you've been a solo artist?
No, my first song that I released as a solo artist was a song called Run. That one's based on nightmares. So it's a bit rockier if you ever listen to it. It's quite bluesy still, grassroots blues, but very rock blues based. And that one's just, it's just a bit crazy. It's about like the devil's knocking at your door and you got to run away from him and stuff. But yeah.
So you're versatile, which is great. So we know you're more into folk, and then you said you dabbled in rock some. Are there any other genres that you will be strongly considering, like, I think I'll be great at this?
Oh, definitely. I'm excited to do all different paths and constantly recreate music, because I suppose if you stick to one thing, then it goes boring. I suppose, like David Bowie once said, if he does the same thing twice, it's boring. So he has to mix it up.
Yeah.
But just forever finding my sound, I suppose.
Okay. So the past year had been super crazy. 2020 was unspeakable. I know here everything was locked down, and I'm sure at some point in Liverpool it was also. Being a upcoming artist and going through pandemic, how did that impact your path?
It felt very difficult because it was kind of like all roads closed, and the fact of like you can't do live gigs anymore, you can't go in to record your music to then promote yourself. So it's like, oh, how do I carry on doing what I'm doing and still impact people, I suppose. At that time I'd lost like motivation, so I had to find a way to start motivating myself again. And I started doing like this feed on Facebook called a song a day challenge. And what I do is I'd learn a song that day and record it and put it on Facebook, which, to be fair, a couple of my friends and relatives and people enjoyed that because it gave them a little bit of happiness. So I felt like I was giving something back, I suppose.
Right, absolutely. I feel like I've seen that challenge be done a few times, and I can see how that can carry on. Just putting out content. I feel like a lot of artists focus on content and just trying to stay busy, and that was a great strategy. Do you think it helped impact your following at all? Did it give you receive what you were looking for?
Yeah, I think people started to take it more as like I can see that she's got some dedication here, and I can see this is what she wants to do. She's putting in the effort, so I don't mind giving her a follow or seeing what she's doing, kind of thing. Yeah.
Incredible. Now, fast forward to 2021, we know last year was crazy. We're just here in the States, we're just now starting to get some of those restrictions lifted, like concerts and festivals, and all those fun, cool things are starting to come back, but with safety precautions. Is that the same thing that's going on over in Liverpool?
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing. In fact, I was part of a trial festival in Liverpool, which was it was the first festival in the UK kind of thing. It was like 3 bands playing. And what we did is have to get tested before and tested then and tested afterwards. But there was only 5 people from like the festival that tested positive, and it was amazing. I was just so happy to be at a live gig again. Like, it was beautiful. I felt like crying.
I honestly, I'm going to Rolling Loud, which is like a big, I guess you could say pop festival here. And I'm telling you, I probably will cry. Like,
yeah,
I love concerts. I love interacting with people, especially artists. And this is going to be incredible. So I can definitely relate to those sentiments. You are signed to Big Condo Records.
I am, yeah. Yes, they are lovely.
So with being signed, do you think how has that been? Because I know from being an independent artist to being a signed artist, like that's a major leap. So with being signed, do you think it's everything that you like could hope for? Like that's a big accomplishment as an artist.
Well, thank you. I mean, I sort of see them as a little team, like a little family, because it's an independent record label, so it doesn't work the same as major labels work, but they're always there to support you. And as much effort that you give in, they'll give back, they'll twice your effort, if that makes sense. So it's like a little family that will help you grow and support me with all of my music releases. So yeah, I'm happy to be there.
Great. Now,
I also meet loads of other artists on that label, which is pretty cool, to be fair, because I would have never met them otherwise. Sorry, I just...
Oh, really?
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, have you done any like collaborations with any
Collaborations? Not yet, but I'd like to in the future.
Oh, really? So do you all house other folk artists, or it might be other genres as well?
There's other genres, there's loads of different genres on the label. I was hoping to like maybe like mix like a bluesy folk cover with like a rap on top of it, with like a rap artist who's like a hip-hop artist with like a folky rocky vibe to it. I want to see how that goes. It might sound awful and we'll never hear it if it does, but if it sounds good.
You know, hip-hop is so versatile these days. I feel like rock is going to be the next big thing in hip hop. Like that crossover. It's going to be the next big thing. I feel like country has already been something that has been teetered, but you might be onto something. You know, maybe blues and hip hop will pop off, you know?
Yeah.
Music's fun that way.
It is always about crossing paths.
Yeah. Now, we know you put out the singles. Are you working on any EPs or maybe even an LP?
I am working on an EP. It's possible in the next 3 months that I'll either be dropping the EP or the single, but it depends how the following grows and how everything else grows and where I am as an artist at the time. But either way, I will have new music out in 3 months' time. So.
Awesome. And it's like, I have to throw this in here. Your accent is so cool.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
so much. Like, what else can I add so I can, hear an accent? But back to onto a lighter note. So we all know like the road of being an artist. It comes with twists and turns, highlights and low points. What do you feel like is the number one lesson you've learned as an artist?
I think the number one lesson that I've learned as an artist is that you have to take setbacks constantly to get the slightest bit of success, but that's okay, and I'm willing to take as many knockbacks as I need to get to do what I want to do, because if it's something you love, you're gonna go out and fight for it, I suppose. Yeah,
absolutely. Do you have any, so for some artist that is coming up maybe in the same field or something close enough to what you're doing currently, do you have any setbacks that you think would be a coachable moment for them, like a piece of wisdom?
A piece of wisdom, yeah. So when you start getting hate comments, because you always do, when you're getting some form of success, you get a lot of hate from, and it can be anyone, just know that it's a sign of you doing something and that you're making a noise and you're doing well. Otherwise, there wouldn't be that one person who will be hating on you. So if there's that one person that's doing that, well, it means that you're doing something right, I suppose. It sounds a bit mad, but it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, I feel like if you didn't have anyone talking about you, then you have something to worry about. Like even myself, I feel like someone's always going to have something to say about something.
What they don't like, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like people often imitate things that are very difficult to duplicate. So I think that's a great piece to put out there. Do you have something that you live by just in life in general?
What you put into life, you get out of life. So if you put in your heart and soul into something and you're pushing hard and you keep going, you'll reap the awards in the end. Well, I hope anyway.
Oh yeah. I feel like life definitely, like you just never know. Your life may change in an hour, maybe even a day. Who knows?
It can be. Yeah. Just
now, what are people from Liverpool called? Like what are the residents called?
So our like accents from Liverpool are called Scousers. We're called Scousers. Yeah.
Ah, and that's like the general body, or is it like broken up into?
So it tends to be the people with the accent who are from the city of Liverpool get called Scousers, if that makes sense.
And so what is it when you don't have an
accent? So if you're slightly outside of Liverpool, you're called woolly-backs. I can explain the term of that if you want. It sounds a bit strange, but when Liverpool was first a docking city, it was one of the biggest docks in the world, and it used to come from America. But what used to happen is the workers that would come in from slightly outside of Liverpool would often be carrying cotton and wool on their backs, and that's why they ended up being called the woolly-backs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's an interesting fun fact. Yeah.
Really cool. I don't know why you knew that.
Now, have you ever been to the States?
No, but I would love to. I've never been, no, but I would love to. It's a dream to.
Yeah. Is there anywhere in particular that you're like, oh, I have to go there?
I would like to tour. America. Like I'd like to do a little like a little tour around in like the local pubs and stuff kind of thing when if I can create like a bit of a buzz. But yeah, I'd like to go to California. I've never been to California. Obviously I'd like to go to the likes of New York and things like that because I can imagine that being amazing, even though I've never really been. Maybe LA. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the States is amazing. New York, well, the East Coast in general is so different from the West Coast. So most people either like either or, but I think you'll probably like both, being as though, you're not from here. Now, are you like an extensive traveler? Have you traveled elsewhere for music?
I've traveled to Spain before. Yeah, that was kind of like I ended up playing in Spain, but it was like a bit of a crazy moment because it was kind of like I wasn't supposed to be playing, but I found a band there that was playing, and I learned how to say in Spanish. Should I be able to get up and have a play with you kind of thing? And they were like, yeah, we're like you want. So I ended up playing this random Irish like festival thing in Barcelona.
Wow.
It was pretty crazy.
An Irish festival in Barcelona.
That's
crazy. Wow.
Like
so with you being able to play, so it was a Spanish band?
Yeah, so it was a Spanish band. So basically it was based in this Irish bar. That's why it was like an Irish festival, if that makes sense. So like the Spanish bands and things were all playing in there. And basically I learned how to say in Spanish, can I come up and play with you? And they let me. And yeah, I was quite young at the time, and it was amazing because like I had the whole pub singing, and it was one of those moments. It was like, I want to be doing this for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Oh wow, yeah, that's incredible. Well, I would never think that like that'll take place in Spain, but that's awesome. Do you know enough about like being there? Do you know enough about their music scene? Was it super different from where you are?
They have it, you know what, it's not always completely different from what I've seen. They have like some similarities in the fact that they have like a lot of acoustic artists with like cajones and things like that, and they have a couple of bands from what I've seen. Obviously they're famous for the Spanish guitar as well. There's a lot of that, which is beautiful, by the way. I wish I could play the guitar like that. Yeah, it's quite interesting culture, I think. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been a great experience. I feel like I've learned so much, whether it's from about yourself or Liverpool or just any cool things that you've done in folk music. I think it's really awesome. I can't wait to see more of what you put out in the world. Before we close out, tell our viewers where we can find you.
So I've been Emily Callacher. It's a bit like Gallagher, but you change the G's to a C. You'll get there. All of my socials are the same, just Emily Callacher. So yeah, hopefully if you enjoyed today, search me up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Emily. This was the kickoff of our season 2. So for all of our viewers, be sure to check out Emily on all platforms and tell us what you think. Listen to fragments and everything else she has. Bye.
Bye.
Hello. Times I risk it all. She recording right now.